Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
Hello and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm your host, Carla Anita Matiazzo. And today's guest is a British and Swiss actor based in London. He is the co-creator of Superbolt Theatre, Providence Cult, and Ben Lunar podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Simon Maeder.
Hello, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. When was the last time I saw you?
Oh, London. Oh, what was it now? Maybe 3 years ago?
2016.
Yeah, a while.
A while. Should we catch the listener up on how we met? Because I know it was the Fringe of 2000
Yeah.
and...
Oh, we're good at this. 15?
15? I reckon.
Call it 15. I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Time's lost all meaning, to be fair, since the past year and a half.
Yeah.
If we both share the memory, that'll be enough.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
We know it happened.
We know it happened.
We met at the Adelaide Fringe. I was doing a show. I was with my company Superbolt. We were doing a show which is now called the Jurassic Parks, but was then called Dinosaur Park, because we were with a different producer. And we met you and your family, and a bit of your family.
Yeah.
And we hung out. It was nice to have to meet people who were based in Adelaide. All of our other friends at the Fringe were people we know from the circuit, you know. So it was nice to get to know some locals.
I loved that show. I think I came and saw it like 3 or 4 times from memory.
It's a good one. For the listener, it's a show about a family who are holding a memorial service for their mother, and she was a paleontologist. It's a comedy, and she was a paleontologist, and she loved the film Jurassic Park. So they're going to show it, but the tape's gone missing, and they have to improvise the whole film on stage. We didn't change it too much for Australia, but we it's sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's an hour-long Fringe show. It's good fun. Definitely our most successful show, I think. You weren't doing a show that year, right?
This is what I'm trying to remember. I think the only year I haven't done Adelaide Fringe was 2019. So maybe I only had a short run that year.
Yeah, I don't remember you talking about your show.
Maybe I was just humble, Simon. I
remember you talking about that you were a performer, because that's how we got to meet. But I can't remember.
Yeah, because 2015 was when I did Evoluzione, when I had my Italian cabaret character that was an authoress and a murderer. That's what I did. That one. As the regular listener knows, we go through people's love life. So let's start at your crush, Simon. Your first crush, or a crush that stood out to you and was really significant in shaping your love worldview going forward.
I guess, what is that, like the first, are you saying the first time I had a proper crush that led to an actual relationship, or just the first time I was like, oh, I like so-and-so?
I reckon the latter.
The latter would have been, are we doing names?
You can do whatever you're comfortable with. It's totally up to you. We've had people come on and say no names. I've had people come on and say people's full names. So it's up to you.
So here's her full name, her address, and like, no, I mean, way back when, it probably would have been, I'll stick with first names. I think it was a girl called Amanda, and we were at school together. And I remember talking to my friends and just talking about how, you know, she was great and she was really funny and cool. And then my friends being the one being like, well, you've got a crush. And I remember being very embarrassed about that. But I don't know why, but that's what teenage, you know, boys are like, teenage, younger. Well, I was probably 12, 11?
Yeah.
No.
I've had people say when they were 4 years old, they remember having a crush.
No. These 4-year-olds are friends with everyone. They don't have crushes. They have friends. I don't know, maybe they do. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows? Who knows these days? Who knows, Simon?
4-year-olds have best friends.
Yeah.
Best friends forever.
Yeah. That's very sweet. What was it about her that made you go, ooh?
She was new. She was new to the school. I went to an international school, so we had new kids come every year, and kids who'd been there for a year or two would regularly go. Some would come back. So the whole, I don't know, like international school culture is very much coming and going. Lots of like military families, lots of international corporate families. She was new. She was from Australia.
Ooh.
We had a few Australians in my school in Switzerland. She was from Australia, and I think it was just at that time when I had friends who were girls, but I'd known them for years and years and years. So suddenly a new girl shows up, and my head is just like, whoa, she doesn't feel like she's the same as my family friend who I would consider a sister. You know, all of the people I was at school with before, I'd known for so long, because we were a small community where I grew up. So I'd known them for years and years. I think that was it. It was the fact that she was new.
Okay.
But drama, then I remember my friend saying he also liked her. Oh, that was...
What a bastard. What a bastard.
We got over it.
Oh, are you sure? I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe we never will.
Maybe you never will. Who knows? Were you the first one to say in that friendship group that you liked this girl, and then your mate hopped on top of that, or vice versa? Can you remember?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember that. I think it was sort of I don't know. It was probably a very similar realization at a similar time for both of us.
Right.
Because we were best friends, and then new girl Amanda shows up, and we both just talked about her a lot, I think. And that's I think that was it probably.
Very cute. Very cute. Okay, so let's talk about what you mentioned before in regards to the crush that turned into something. What has been your experience with that type of crush?
That's definitely, I think that's happened to me. I've had a crush on someone and then made the effort to get to know them more or better. That happened at school with probably my first girlfriend. We chatted a lot via text and via email. I don't know why we were emailing each other. I think email was still kind of a relatively
It was the MSN thing. Yeah.
Yeah, MSN for sure. MSN Messenger was the one. So we were chatting a lot, and then I asked her if she wanted to go out with me.
Ooh. That's a very much our generation term, Simon, going out with somebody. That's very much our generation, I think.
Oh, really? What do people say now?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what people would say now.
I don't know either, but I love it. I'm not poo-pooing it. I just love it.
I need to get this modern phrasing correct. How can I relate to my audience if I don't know what they're talking about? So yeah, no, that happened at school. That ended in a bit of my first heartbreak for me. That was a very big learning experience. I think heartbreak, everyone's kind of gone through it, and it's just, you don't realize that it's one of the things that you just go through, that you just have to go through.
Yes.
And when you're in it, you're like, this kind of sucks.
So what did you do to get out of heartbreak, Simon?
I was going to say I moved, and it's kind of true, but not because of the heartbreak. I did move because I went to a boarding school in England for what we call sixth form, which is the last 2 years. So where I did the international baccalaureate. So I was still very much not over my first girlfriend and was going to boarding school. So I left the country, and that helped me get over the heartbreak quickly.
Because you had other new things to look at. Is that what I'm guessing?
It was like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. I had to see her every day. I wasn't feeling good about, my mood around her, and I was feeling very down. And then I was just completely taken out of all of that, going to boarding school. So yeah, new friends, new crushes, new kind of everything.
So when you're in boarding school, did you have a relationship during that period of your life? Because I imagine it would be very different to somebody that lives in that town and isn't like a boarder at the school that they go to. Does that make sense with what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, definitely. And people did have relationships with, because the school was a day school and a boarding school, so some people were boarders and some people weren't. Yeah. But no, like when I was there, I had a very brief relationship with a girl who ended up that was a bit of a weird situation. There were like rumors about her and a teacher, and he got fired and no one really knows why. But obviously it had nothing to do with her. He was just being a bit of a prick.
Dick. Yeah.
But so I was dating her at the time, and then she broke it off. But it was, that was like 4 weeks of, hanging out a bit more than we would if we were just friends. Yeah. But then one of my friends at boarding school, I never really got into a relationship with her, but we did become very close, and that was towards the end of boarding school though. So we knew we were both going to uni, and we didn't want to start a relationship because we were doing all this new stuff. So we were just like, had a really nice summer and then said our goodbyes.
That's
we're still
very
friends
civilized.
Today,
it's very civilized.
I guess. I think we were just both very much on the same page. We liked each other, and we didn't want to be in a relationship when we got to uni. Both of those goals were the same. So we just hung out. We traveled a bit together. And
that's nice.
Yeah.
So what are the lessons that you learnt from those young formative relationships? It sounds like, from what you're telling me, you were quite rational and measured with the decisions that you made when it came to romance and who you got into relationships with in your younger years?
Well, I guess ever since understanding what heartbreak consisted of, I was very careful to get into a relationship that I wasn't very sure about.
Right.
So I think that's where this idea, I was always very open. I tried to be very, I tried to hone my communication skills, he says eloquently, so that I wanted everyone to be on the same page all of the time. Because if we weren't, that leads to one person maybe being more invested, and that's definitely what happened with me in my first proper relationship. I was very much involved, very much in it, and she was not feeling the same way. So then it kind of backfired, because I went to university and got into a relationship which I really enjoyed and really liked, but then I started drifting away emotionally, and it was really, that was the first time I was going to have to break up with someone, and that was really tough, because I knew from my experience how much that could hurt, and I didn't want to cause that much hurt to anyone else. So I thought about it for a long time, so that I was very sure. And when the idea just didn't leave my head for weeks and weeks and weeks, I realized that I wasn't very happy. So I broke things off, and that was tough. I don't talk to her anymore, which is fine. I'm friends with some exes. I'm not friends with others. That's fine. It's what she needed,
Yeah. So what's the difference usually, Simon, in regards to staying friends with an ex? What's the difference? Is it the way the breakup happens that determines if you stay friends later or not? What's the ingredients there that make you be able to have an amicable friendship afterwards?
Well, it depends if that's what you want. I don't think an amicable friendship is the best solution to the end of every relationship. If two people need more distance, or one person needs more distance, then that should be respected. And if you're not, but I think if you're going to be friends, you should just think, it depends where you're both at when you break up. If you're both on the same page saying, this actually doesn't work. Are you happy? Not really. Are you? Well, not really. Well, then it makes sense for us to be friends. Maybe we were better as friends. That's something you hear people say. And then then great. You just have to make sure that you are just friends, and that involves spending a lot less time together. Because, people, I see my friends as much as I can, but I don't see them nearly as much as I do my partner.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will involve a cutoff of some sort. Because otherwise you need to let the other person be free to explore new romantic relationships. And if you're the one who's always like, so how's your new thing
Hanging
going?
around.
So tell me about your love life.
Yeah.
So how, let me know all of your business all of the time. That person, then you're still very much in their life.
Yes.
So maybe think about distance. I don't know. It's different for everyone. It's worked for me. I like being on friendly terms with most of the people I've dated. I know that I could text or call, quite a few of them right now, and it would be absolutely fine. There are maybe 2 people that I can think of where I'd be like, why am I calling you? I don't even know what we have in common anymore. Like, you live a completely different life.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you or spoken to you in years. I wish you all the best, but that would be a weird phone call.
Yes. Yeah. It maybe would be a phone call when you're dying.
Even then, I'd probably avoid it. I just wanted to say, what am I calling to say? Just wanted to say I'm dying. You win.
Yes, so you know. Speaking of extreme circumstances, have you ever, and I've never asked this on the podcast, I'm surprised I have not asked this. So feel free to tell me to fuck off if you don't want to answer.
I knew what I was taking on board. I knew what was happening.
Have you ever been cheated on or have you cheated?
I have never cheated on anyone. I have been cheated on. But again, that's a pretty strange and sticky situation because we're talking about a very inappropriate power dynamic.
Right.
So that's not my place to talk about, even though, that should be talked about more, I suppose. Like, it was not a good thing. But I knew something was up with that relationship. It wasn't going great. And I feel for the horrible situation she must have been in. So it wasn't the kind of, oh my God, so-and-so's cheated on me. How could they ever do that? I found out much, much later that was happening. And I don't even know for sure if whatever timed up with whatever, even if we were in a relationship at the time. So no and kind of, I suppose is the answer.
Interesting. It's a funny thing in this day and age, the whole cheating scenario, because there are so many different forms of relationships now than what they, again, I'm making a generalization here, than what they were, 50 or so years ago. But my sphere and the world in which I live in and what I'm comfortable with, even though it's not trendy and it's not fashionable, I'm a person that feels more comfortable in a monogamous relationship, right? And it's just what I feel comfortable with. And being cheated on and finding out after the fact, like after you've broken up and then hearing from someone that was happening, is really yucky.
It comes down to your relationship with relationships. Like if you have an experience, like that experience of will shape your view going into future relationships.
Yeah.
So for someone to be able to do that in the first place, they have their own situation and their own issues with relationships, because there is still, I'm sure there's still a point when if a person is cheating on someone, a voice would say in their heads, like, is this okay? Or should I think about so-and-so's feelings before any of this happens? But they have, people have their own way in the moment to justify these things. And what sucks is that there are people who get left in the wake of destruction whilst someone is trying to work out their own problems. Yeah. Hopefully they do. Because people fall into patterns, and getting to know yourself is the best way to break out of a pattern that seems to be hurting a lot of people around you. It's that phrase, you meet an arsehole in the morning, you've met an arsehole in the morning, but if you meet arseholes all day, you're an arsehole. Like if you're the kind of person that does that a lot in relationships, you need to start thinking about what you want. Like, do you want what's best is a relationship that suits those needs. Like you and me, we were saying how we're quite, I don't know if traditional is the word, but yeah, traditional monogamy, that's fine. But if you are entering in monogamous relationships a lot and not being able to, not enjoying the boundaries that those set up, then you need to find someone who thinks like you, and you can have a less traditional relationship.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes. I understand exactly what you're saying there. That was very insightful, Simon. What's been the best date you've been on and why, and the worst date you've been on and why. And were they dates that you set up or were they set up for you?
Does a trip count as a date? I went to Venice.
Oh, fuck off, that's nice.
It was really nice with, with my girlfriend. We went to Venice for our, just to Dennis's house, for our anniversary. That was really fun. But worst date, I did go on a few dates with someone when I was dating that were really strange. We didn't, like, we clicked okay. We chatted well enough and easy enough, but she was on her phone a lot, and she you know, when like, oh, you know, it's funny to say, oh, people take pictures of their food. I don't mind that. She did do that, but I didn't mind her taking pictures of the food. What I kind of minded was that she did the Instagram post and the post about the food, like right there and then as well.
What? Why? You're there to,
I don't know.
You're there to spend time with the person that you're in front of and get to know. That's the whole point of a fucking date. Like, put your phone away. Put it away.
Exactly. So I kind of got the sense that she wasn't too interested. So I thought, okay, well, I won't pursue this. But she never paid or offered to pay. And I don't mind treating someone and a friend to a meal, especially if I've been the one who's been like, hey, do you want to go for a meal with me? And then it's a bit like, oh, and by the way, you're paying for it. I would often say, like, do you want to come for a meal with me? Then I'll get it. That's fine. But to, like, I think we went on 3 or 4 dates, and to never offer to pay was, I think, a bit strange.
Yeah.
Because it less became, do you want to go for dinner with me? And it more became, let's do this thing soon. But even then it was not like, no offer came. And I just thought, yeah, that's a bit strange. I'm gonna stop this. We just stopped seeing each other.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it would have been much fun if she was just sitting there on her phone the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. She, I don't know what she was looking for.
Obviously not the same stuff that you and I would look for.
It's true.
What would you say is the biggest romantic gesture you have done? Are you thinking, shit, I haven't done any?
Maybe I'm thinking, maybe I should do more. If one doesn't spring to mind immediately, then have I even done enough? I think I'm pretty good at gifts. Mm-hmm. So birthdays and Christmases, because I think, because I appreciate a nice, thoughtful gift. So I try and replicate that.
Great. And how do you do that, Simon? How do you replicate that?
Well, I think also, before I answer that question, I think I try and do little things like I buy flowers a lot. I buy little gifts. But on birthdays, I think, birthdays and Christmases is really trying to anticipate what that person needs or wants. Mm-hmm. So I try and, I think I try and listen out, you listen for clues classically. But then you also, it's about where you find the gifts as well. The internet is huge, but a lot of the stuff on there is pretty crap. Mm-hmm. But so if you can find a good, like, there are so many artists online who can create incredible things. Like Etsy is a really good place for just like original stuff. But yeah, so like my girlfriend loves trainers, so I got her a kit for her birthday last year, which was to Hydra Dip trainers.
Oh,
you ever seen that? But yeah, that was really fun.
That's really cool. That's very thoughtful. So how did you guys meet? Tell us the story about that one, Simon.
We met in the theatre. I wish it's a nice story for us, but it's not a crazy one. We were both at the theatre seeing a company who were at drama school with me, and my current girlfriend was at that drama school as well, but at a different time.
Right.
She went after me. So I was talking to the company after the show, and she knew one of them. So she came over and said hi, and then we got chatting in that sort of little circle of friends. I was leaving, she was leaving to North London as well. We both got the tube together, and we just chatted a lot on the tube. And we swapped numbers and went for a date, and a couple of days later. That was nearly 3 years ago.
That's really cute. That's a lovely story. You can see that playing out in a rom-com. You can see that easy being played out in a romantic comedy.
But it was funny because I've been doing the online dating stuff. I had just finished a relationship with someone, not a very long one. And so I think we were both in a very similar place, and it just evolved quite naturally.
That's lovely. That's a beautiful thing. Before I love and leave you, Simon, would you like to leave the listener with any sparkling pieces of brilliance when it comes to love, dating, or romance?
I guess I'm no expert. My parents had a very long, are having a very long relationship. So
Yeah.
That's it. I think what we were talking about before about knowing what you want, I think is very important. If you need to be in a sort of constant conversation with your partner, because people change. So it's okay to keep assessing it. It's okay to keep asking yourself and your partner if the relationship is still working. Most of the time, the answer will be to make our lives interesting. We can just enjoy each other and the relationship for what it is.
Know yourself. That's a brilliant message to leave the listener on, Simon. That's very profound. I love that, Simon. I think that's an excellent note for people to take away and ponder on their love journeys. I think that's really brilliant. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. It's been lovely seeing your face and talking to you. As I said to you before we started, I hear your voice every day when I'm listening to your podcast. Can you tell the listener about your podcast before you vacate this love show?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Really nice to see you and chat. My podcast is called Ben Lunar. It is a story, an ongoing narrative set in a fantasy world. I write it and I record it as well. And we have some original music there by a guy called Tom Figgins, who's amazing. And enjoy it. It's for all ages as well.
I love it. And I'm in my mid-30s, so it is for all ages. Thank you again, Simon. This has been lovely.
It's been good. Yeah, really nice.
The Catchalorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catchalorette and friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back to the planet at no cost to you, and there's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement. Only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.